There we go. We're recording now. And let's see. So, for those who watch the YouTube videos, what we have tonight is the weekly 4K Games Challenge. Taz and I are here. Deagle's out. Deagle's got stuff to do tomorrow, so we're doing some Hearthstone since they both have beta keys. And tonight we're just doing basic decks since we're not going to he'll crush me with his advanced decks because I'm new, and we're just going to level up our characters. So I'm doing Paladin and he's Warlock.
Yeah, the game is unlike a lot of CCGs where you kind of have to invest heavily in a collection to get a sort of reasonable deck. The game has a subset of the bit cards, which are called basic cards, which you get just by leveling up the characters from level 1 to 10. And between those and sort of neutral cards, which are not class specific, you can build a reasonable deck without spending too much money.
So my opinion on the game so far is it's actually really fun. At first it seemed really basic to me. I was like, this doesn't seem like so great. But after I got a couple of rounds in and started to realize that once you get past just the standard mob cards and you get into effect cards and spells, taunting, and your hero abilities, there's actually quite a bit of depth to the game. Unfortunately, I feel like it's still plagued by you have pay to win people, so you'll get stomped from time to time because if you have nothing but basic cards and you're trying to grind out rares like I am by not paying any money, somebody who's paid for cards is just going to beat you, unfortunately. But you do have the option to not pay a dime and just play like that. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and they have a nice mechanic for us for cards that you do not want. Say, for example, you're just trying to keep it basic on your spending, and you decide you want to concentrate on one class. You can take all of the cards you get for other classes and basically disenchant them into dust, which allows you to then make the card you want for the class you're specifying.
And on that aspect, I did that. I did that for when I was using Mage at the beginning, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to play Mage. And this was before I started doing the daily quests. Disenchanted some of the cards I had gotten from my couple of first packs, and crafted a couple of key cards for the Mage. The issue I found with that is that suddenly I didn't have any cards for my other classes so I had a very mage heavy deck and I couldn't use the other classes effectively on the daily quests, so it kind of backfired a little bit. But yeah, do you get equal dust for disenchanting as you do building? I would assume not. I'm assuming it's a mechanic to eat. Yeah,
correct. It soaks up. So, but for example, a golden version of a card will net you enough dust to do a normal version of a card of that level. So if you get a golden epic, you can disenchant it for enough dust to make a normal epic.
And the golden is the same as the regular, other than it looks prettier and it's more rare, correct?
And it has an animation.
Yeah.
Correct. So a lot of people recommend while you're building your collection, unless it's a card that you really like using and want to sort of pimp your decks a bit, any gold card, especially sort of rare and above, you disenchant for the dust.
So basically, as you get your characters leveled up, you get gold versions of a card you already have from your basic deck, so you might as well just disenchant those since you can't use more than 2 of them in your deck anyways.
Yeah, so the game will auto disenchant anything over 2 anyway.
Wonder how much dust I might have then. Probably nothing much right now. Let's see.
To craft the legendaries, it's like 1600 dust.
Yeah. Oh my.
Super high.
I have to say that I feel some of the cards are just way too good. Like I've had games that I was just winning, like great winning, and then somebody pulls out like a legendary and then just rolls me from there. Yaris or something like that, the one with like 12 health that pulls out dream cards.
Yes, sir. So that's the one legendary I've got so far.
That
Apart
thing,
from some of the legendaries that you get, like the first time you buy some packs, they give you a legendary who's okay, but his effects are random, so he's not amazing.
I don't remember getting that, but I hope I did. But I got rolled by that card, and then earlier in that same round, they pulled another legendary on me that it couldn't attack, but at the end of every turn, it launches an 8 damage fireball.
Yeah, that's Ragnaros.
That was a pretty mean card too.
Yeah, but so you can, as you get, like, I've been trying to watch a few streams and listen to a few things, and I've learned a lot in terms of how to play from watching those things, like holding back cards and waiting, and it's a lot of threat assessment. You assess what they potentially have and how much you want to keep for that big bomb when they drop it.
Yeah, and that's where I think the strategy really starts to develop. The more you play the game, the more you start to develop a sense for the strategy involved in the game. So you might have a couple of 1 or 2 mana cards that you can play really early on in the game, Blessing of Might or Divine Shield, like right now using a Paladin, and they might get you ahead in an early game, but then you'll just get rolled if your opponent was actually holding out for something near late game. And those same low mana cards might actually be much more valuable late game if you still have them. So I think that's the secret, is knowing sometimes it's best to hold on to things.
Yeah, there's a really good, for example, there's a 1/1 that when you play it deals 1 damage to anything. And the temptation is to play it on your turn 1 if you have it in your hand. But against a Pally or even a normal person, they're the Divine Shield cards, which basically absorb the first set of damage you throw at them. So that card becomes really useful for a non-mage in popping those shields.
And sometimes the synergy of cards is absolutely amazing, of course. Like, let's see, I got a Shaman that rolled me earlier because they had like 2 cards that summon low damage minions, played them both, and then next turn when I just think, oh, they got 4 1 damage things, I'm going to win this turn. Well, they played in 1 turn Bloodlust, which boosted everything's attack plus like 3. Then he played the plus 4 damage card, whatever that is, the rock hammer.
Rockbiter.
Yeah, Rockbiter.
Plus 3, yeah.
Plus 3. And then he played
Wind Fury.
Wind Fury. And literally mine went from 28 health to dead in 1 turn when I actually had the round, like the game 1. He only had like 6 health left, so yeah, that's what happens.
The gates are open.
Yeah, that's like that deck I played against you. The Wind Fury can be quite mean if you stack it up right.
Yeah. Wind Fury is one of my favorite moves.
So one of the things that they've done, so all of you have a choice of, is it 9 heroes? Each has their own hero ability. Paladins can summon 1/1 tokens every turn for 2 mana. I can draw a card at the cost of a life for 2 mana. Mages can do a point of damage to anything for 2 mana, and the abilities vary. They're relatively balanced in a way, and all of them really allow you to sort of build decks around them that do things.
Yeah, I mean, you can use your hero abilities smartly in interaction with your deck. So, for example, if you're a mage and you can do that 1 damage to anything, you might use a rage card where the damage goes up every single time that opponent gets hit, and you can actually hit your own guy just for boosting its damage. So, as expected, Taz is more experienced than me, so he's doing pretty damn good here.
I've had a reasonable draw as well. So taunt, when you see a shield around a minion, it basically means that if Vicious was going to attack me with either his hero, because you can give your heroes weapons, some of the hero classes, or if he had other monsters on the board, he would have to basically come through the minion with taunt first. Spells he can still direct anywhere, like he did the hammer to get rid of my warrior guy, and there you go, there's a weapon. So now Vicious can actually attack my guy with himself. My guy will deal him damage, but he's obviously got a lot more health than your average minion. There's some minions that actually replace your hero. There's one called I think it's Lord Jiraxis. Basically, he comes into play, replaces your hero, and becomes a hero with 15 health that has like an ability to summon massive, huge, infernal, and he's generally very unfair.
Yeah, the game's still considered in beta. It's closed beta. I think they've thrown out a lot more keys, so if you apply to get in, your chances are you might get in soon, but it's obviously not going to be fully balanced just yet, since it's considered to be in beta still.
Yeah, and they're still working out things like how to spectate, how to really sort of structure the events. There is no organized play structure built into the game, so you can't host a tournament natively. You kind of have to do it sort of old school style.
Reporting for duty.
I'm not quite getting the right card to get your mobs. Paladin seems to be really, really bad with any kind of strong opponent or large board, because he doesn't have any board clearing cards, and he doesn't have any instant kill cards as far as I know. At least not in the basic deck he doesn't.
There's a card called Consecrate, which I think is in his basic set. You may not have unlocked it yet.
Oh yeah, I do have it unlocked. But
yeah, that does 2 damage to everything, all minions and the opposing
and allies, yeah. He does have the Humiliate card, which is kind of nice, maybe.
Yeah,
but
there's a card called Equality that changes all minions' healths to 1. So you can combo that with Consecrate and pretty much clear the board of everything. So, you know, a lot of Pallies use that as answers to the big legendaries. So you drop your 8/8 Ragnaros, I can play Equality, change it
to 1 HP, and then just use Consecrate for it.
Correct. Either
Non-direct.
Consecrate or Hammer of Wrath or any of those sort of damage effects to do it. So I have something in mind, but I'd really like to get rid of Vicious's minion without wasting one of my minions I've got on the board. So I'm going to life tap, which is what my ability to draw, to see if I can draw an answer to Vicious's minion before I commit any minions I've got on the board. So that didn't work out too well. I still didn't get the answer I was looking for. So I gotta sacrifice one of my minions to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, all those really cool cards that I can unlock, I don't have, since they're not built into the basic deck. I've unlocked them, but they're not into the deck.
They should be. I think as you unlock, they add them automatically. Once you've just chosen the basic deck.
I don't think so, because I don't think I've ever seen any of the ones I've unlocked pull up in my deck. I think it's only the stuff you start with.
No, as you go along, as far as in my experience, as you go along with the classes, as you unlock more of their basic cards, the basic deck includes them.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
So, even as we were saying, there's sort of this apparent simplicity in terms of, you know, we have minions, we can attack each other, and our minions can attack. You know, I'm faced with a very interesting choice here. Do I waste some of the health of my minions to remove Vicious's minions? For example, if I run my 4/5 into his 4/2, it's going to have 1 health left, and he can pick it off with his weapon. He'll take 4 damage in the process, but he'll get rid of the minion, obviously permanently. Or I can say, fine, I'm going to ignore Vicious's minions, and just aim all of my damage at his face. First I'm going to draw a card.
I think a lot of the games I've lost because I ended up not having a deck where I could make good card draws and just didn't have the answer. So I think some of the future decks I build are going to have more cards in there to help me draw, because I hate when I get to a point where I'm drawing one card at a time with nothing else in my hand.
Yeah, you never want to get to that point and your opponent's got like 5 cards in hand. He's big.
For justice.
I'm pretty much screwed. You got me next turn, it looks like.
Yeah. So in this case, Vicious has started to come back, but because he doesn't have a taunt, I can then ignore his sort of big minion,
Yep.
and just aim at his face,
and
and
his
I
luck-
have enough damage to kill him.
And then Paladin should have lots of healing cards, but I haven't been lucky enough to draw a single one of them. Maybe, just maybe, if I would have looked and realized he can do 12 damage next turn, I would have not taken any damage and survived one more round and just happened to irk out what I need. But Taz is going to be so gracious that he won't kill me this round. So no.
What? Murder, death, kill.
Not quite level 10. I need to get one more game in with the Paladin.
So if you've played World of Warcraft, you will appreciate a lot of the art, a lot of the spell names, a lot of the flavors is coming from WoW, and it makes it sort of... I used to play WoW. I've recently, because of Hearthstone, re-upped my subscription and realized I really don't want to be playing WoW again, and there was a reason I quit.
Because you found what life was and you wanted it back?
Correct. And I just... to get back into it and learn everything about WoW again, it's so daunting.
Yeah, I can only imagine there's probably a good 4 expansions, maybe more, since the last time I played. So everyone's going to know where to find the best loot, the best dungeons, the best builds, the best everything, and you would have to go do all that research and try it out.
Yeah, and they completely changed the skill system since, in terms of, your specs and stuff like that, is completely and totally different since the last time I played.
I remember when I played so long ago, and I had with my hunter some of the rare pets that you can't get anymore, and then they did a patch one day where you couldn't feed pets like that anymore, so they became useless, and that was so mean, because I remember having to go through all the trouble to get those rare pets.
I remember being a complete and utter dick to this one girl who was in I got on well with an alliance friend, and we had the top horde guild on the server. That she was in the top alliance guild on the server, and she had this hunter in her guild that she didn't like, and there was this one rare pet that spawned in a certain place. We basically camped it all day, stopping her from getting taming it. She wasn't very impressed.
I remember when there was no battlegrounds and you would just randomly spend your time as a high level going and destroying the other towns from the enemy faction. That was when World of Warcraft was fun. Those were the good days.
Yeah, so the classes that use weapons are paladins, warriors, and rogues. Rogues and shaman. Shaman use weapons as well.
Yeah.
And your weapon is useful. You have durability on your weapon, so they don't stay forever.
Definitely seen, the shaman weapon.
Ready for action.
So the warrior and the druid are the two classes that can the only two classes that can effectively raise their health above 30. because they have abilities that give armor, and armor stacks on top of health.
Yeah, I quite like the druids. One armor, one attack. It's really good for picking up 1/1s without actually losing anything.
Yeah, it's also really good for popping divine shields. So classes